Good morning, everyone. Today we studied this year a combined two portions of Matos-Masei. These are the last two portions of the book of Numbers. Next week we begin the book of Deuteronomy, Dvarim. In the portion of Masei, there is a mitzvah that is detailed with many aspects called City of Refuge, Arei Miklat. What is a city of refuge? A town in Israel designated every few miles where if someone committed a crime of murder, unintentional murder, they run to that city and they are protected from a relative or anyone else from getting punished. As soon as they leave the city of refuge, they will allow themselves to be killed by a family member or even a stranger, by an avenger. Here it is in the portion of Masei. There are many details. I want to share with you some of the details. God says in chapter 34, chapter 35, verse 1, God spoke to Moshe in the plains of Moab by the Jordan near Jericho, saying, command the children of Israel, they should give the Levite cities to live in from the hereditary possession of land. You should give the Levites non-developed open space around the cities, and the city will be theirs to live in, and the open spaces will be for the cattle, the property, and for all their needs. God continues on to say that there should be 6 towns in large cities that were given completely to the Levites, and they will become cities of refuge. And in addition, you add 42 cities of refuge. So combine the 6 and the 42, which are small cities, are when you give the city from the hereditary land to the children of Israel, you should take more land from the larger inheritance and less from the smaller one. Each one should give cities to the Levites commensurate with the size of the inheritance allotted them, and they are together 48 cities. That's one section. A page later, God explains how the city of refuge would work. And the Torah tells us, chapter 35, verse 22, but if a person pushed another accidentally, without malice, or threw an object at them, without premeditation, or he threw a stone, which is deadly, down at another without seeing him, and it killed them, but he was not his enemy, and did not want to hurt him, then the congregation should enact justice between the attacker and the avenger of the blood according to the following laws. Number 1, the congregation should protect the murderer from the avenger of the blood. The congregation should return him to the city of refuge to which he had fled. He must remain there until the death of the high priest, the one who was anointed with the sacred oil. But if the murderer goes outside the border of the city of refuge to which he had fled, and the avenger of the blood finds him outside the limits of his city of refuge, and the avenger of the blood kills the murderer, he has no liability, for the blood is spilled. Okay, so again, the murderer, we're talking about unintentional, that was done without malice. He was not aware that there is a person there. Or there was beyond his control. He's climbing a ladder, and the ladder broke and fell down, and someone was under and got killed. Then the community has to protect the murderer from the avenger. He must run to this city of refuge. That's where he's going to remain for the rest of his life. And the Torah, as Rambam brings it from the Talmud, there shall he live, there shall he die, there shall he be buried. In other words, the rest of his life is in the city of refuge. What happens if he leaves the city of refuge? He opens himself for the avenger to kill him, or anyone else. If he left, by the way, here is part of the law. If he left accidentally, he was asleep. Someone took him by car, or he didn't know that he left the borders. Anyone who killed him has to go to exile to a city of refuge again, because living accidentally does not constitute crossing the line. But if he did it intentionally, the avenger is allowed to. Everybody else is not supposed to, but if they did, they are not going to the city of refuge. Yes.
Does there have to be two witnesses, or this is?
What's the witnesses for?
For the volunteer, for the murder, for the original murder.
There is a video. I don't understand.
Well, if somebody commits murder and nobody else sees it.
Yeah, he says, this is what I did.
Okay, so he confessed it.
He confessed, so there are witnesses, or whatever. There was no need for warning. There is all we have to make sure is that he had no intention of doing it.
That's the question.
If he says a bullet got out of my Glock, and I wasn't aware it was loaded, this is already close to intentional. By the way, it's a very clear, very narrow definition of unintentional. And in today, someone who is speeding over the speed limit and accidentally got involved in a car accident, someone dies, I don't think a city of refuge will help. Someone who was intoxicated and drive a car, I'm not sure that this is constitute unintentional or accident. An accident is climbing a ladder, doing everything legally that's defined as a healthy and safe, and one step broke without no one's knowledge, because the moth or whatever eats wood ate by the connection, and he fell, and from that he slipped, and he fell down all the way, and there was a baby or a man sitting there and got killed. Is that clear? I want to move on to the real topic of our discussion. Yes.
You mentioned before the seat in the car, was driven out of the city. The avenger can kill him there, and he would be okay.
Accidental is not no one should kill him. If it was intentional, then
The guy who's fled to a city because of an accidental murder. He falls asleep in a car. Someone takes him out of the city inadvertently. He doesn't know.
No one is allowed to kill him. I said if he left the town accidentally without intention, he is still protected.
Yeah, so
The protection is removed if it was done intentionally.
whoever kills him is a murderer.
Is liable to City of Refuge.
The guy who kills him?
Yeah.
No, outside.
Okay? So far, so good. Rambam writes the following law that everybody is screaming and asking for the reason, except that Rambam took it from the Mishnah. Rambam writes, Hagoyle, a man that is deserved to be moving into a city of refuge, Eino Yoitze, never leaves his town, even for, in other words, he has to remain a city of refuge. So if there is an IKEA across the line to another city, and they offer him 2 for 1, and he can save $5,000 for furnishing his kitchen, he's not allowed to. There is no reason for, no excuse, no allowance, even for a mitzvah. He can perform a mitzvah. See a king is a great mitzvah. He's going to have it one time in life. And in addition, even if he can save a life, and that's what I want you to pay attention. Rambam writes, if he can be giving testimony that will spare someone's life by giving testimony, he is not going to testify, meaning someone will die because of that. Even Rambam writes, even if he is like a man that the entire community, all of Jewish people need his help, like Yoav ben Tzruya. Yoav ben Tzruya was the minister of war of King David and saved David many, many times. A brave man and very, very all around unusual character. And the entire Jewish people need him for advice, how to wage war, to testify in court, to be able to computate a complex issue that will save many, many lives. Is not allowed to leave his city of refuge. So in fact, if he was in a room and he watched someone killed or someone preparing a bomb that later on killed, and he need to testify because it will either save life or give someone punishment, that's capital punishment, there is no exception and he's not going to leave his town. Is that clear?
Under no circumstances.
Under all circumstances, he must remain in his city, and there are no exceptions, which is unusual.
Can they bring the trial to him?
Ask the Rebbe. Good question. The great court that judge lives have to remain in Jerusalem, and he's in the Galilee. Ask ask all the rabbis. There is a law in Torah, pikuach nefesh, saving lives, doche et kol Torah, pushes up every precept of the Torah except the 3 cardinal sins. In other words, if I have to eat non-kosher to save my life, I have to. If I have to violate Shabbat to save a life, I say violate. Every single law is pushed away for the sake of saving a life. Here you're telling me there is a mitzvah. It's not a cardinal mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to stay in the City of Refuge to protect himself. Yet the Rambam rules based on Mishnah in Makot that he never lives even though he has an opportunity to save lives. Saving lives, nothing is greater. How is it possible to allow for someone to remain and keep the mitzvah of staying in the City of Refuge on the account that someone is going to be dying? We know clearly his testimony will save someone. There are many, many answers. I'm going to show with you 3. All 3 the Rebbe refutes. So just heads up.
Any that he doesn't agree with? Any that the Rebbe doesn't agree with?
The Rebbe will come up with his own answer. But the thing is that the Rebbe always finds it in someone else's, as if the Rebbe has nothing to say. It's the Rebbe's teaching, but he finds it within the words of Rambam. He fits it within the Rambam's words. But we'll get to it in a moment. The first answer is that the rule is if my life and your life are on the line, and I can save your life, but by doing so, I'm endangering my life, I don't have to.
Right.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask.
Because my life comes first. Okay? So if someone is, God forbid, drowning, or there is a hurricane, and I can go and help them, but by doing so, I'm putting my life on the line, don't do it. Why? Chayecha kodmin. Your life comes first. And therefore, you have to protect your life. God, when he gave me a life, he commanded me to save a life and to push away every mitzvah. But he gave me the mitzvah of saving my life before anybody else.
So you should run into a burning building.
You should not run into a burning building. You should not run in during a hurricane to save someone. You should not jump to the water unless you know for sure it's not a dangerous undercurrent and it's that you know to swim. Otherwise, do not do it. Says the Rebbe, I don't understand. I am sure that the community can create a protection for the man to make sure his life are not in danger. Let's say it's Yoav ben Tzruya, a man, a minister of war. He needs to plot. By the way, in Israel, in the history of the state of Israel, there are many generals that, as they say, the entire country owes them a great deed of gratitude, if not their existence. One of them is Arik Sharon. Arik Sharon, in 56 and 67, Six-Day War, he was, even 73, he was about a couple of miles away from Damascus, and only politicians stopped him, as he been allowed to do what he wanted to, history would be totally different. But anyway, there are men, you would think that today with machines and AI, but it's not true. A human being sometimes would be gifted with certain talents that no one else is able to, and they can come up with the mind game idea of understanding how the enemy operates, and by doing so, they will be able to preempt the desire and be able to conquer and be successful. I said, I don't understand. You're telling me he's not allowed to leave the City of Refuge because he's putting his life on the line. He may get killed and therefore not do it. Well, we can walk around it. Put an army around them, protect them, do it in secrecy so that the avenger does not know. And the avenger is not able to reach him. How is it possible? This is not sufficient. Did you understand the question?
Witness protection.
Says the Rebbe, witness protection. It says the Rebbe, especially that the rule is that even though he can save lives of many, not just one person. Yoav ben Tzuya is an example of a man that was able to spare the life of hundreds or maybe thousands of people. You're telling me that he cannot live? Why? Because his life is on the line. He may be endangering his life, but why don't you create a witness protection, a nice, good marshals that will look after him and many layers of protection, and this way he will save many people. It's unjust to say that he shouldn't leave his town. Did you understand that? Second question, the second answer. A rabbi says that the fact that a man caused the end of a life to somebody, it's very far-fetched that God will allow to save a life through that person. In other words, once someone has committed such a heinous crime, even though it was unintentional, but the fact that a life ended through his act, he does not deserve that ever someone's life to be saved through him. And therefore, it's a far-fetched reality. That's why the rule is that he shouldn't leave his town of refuge. Ask the Rebbe, before Harry's asking, ask the Rebbe, but still, it shouldn't be part of Jewish law. Okay, so it's very far-fetched, but it may happen. It may happen once in a million years. But why the rule is that even if it happens, it shouldn't go. Yes, Harry, what's the question?
So if you kill someone unintentionally, you have to do something.
Of course, but he was a good... Yeah, the fact that someone got killed, it was planned by God. But the fact that he became the vehicle, the tool by which God used to carry out his mission, is sufficient to make him empty vessel that God will never use him to save someone's life. Says the Rebbe said, I don't understand, but it might happen. And in addition, that's the law, that for pikuach nefesh, for saving a life, you push away every one of the God's commandments. And therefore, it should apply here too. It's not a sufficient reason to say, here, in this case, there is no such law that to push away all the mitzvot. Did you understand? So this is the second answer. Here's the third answer. The Minchat Chinuch writes, it's Gzerat HaKatuv, a Torah decree for no reason. It says, God says, don't leave the city of refuge if you cause someone's life to end. And therefore, no matter what excuses you have, or reasons, I use excuses, but good reasons, saving a life of somebody, saving the life of a town, of the entire nation, it doesn't matter. God said, don't leave under all circumstances. And therefore, there is no reason.
Say don't leave, or does it just say if you leave, you will be killed?
Right, it says if he leaves, he will be killed.
But that doesn't say don't leave.
No, it says V'yoshav bo, he needs to settle there until the high priest dies.
Okay.
And if he left, his blood is in his own hands. And therefore, he has no blood. Just a minute. Bob, you understand that?
No, but I'm saying it still becomes voluntary. He is not violating a commandment if he leaves.
He did not, he violated a commandment actually for putting his life in danger.
Okay.
So kill the high priest.
By the way, that's why I wanted to concentrate on one topic. You just pulled me in a different direction. That's why only if he left intentional. If he left an unintentional, for example, he didn't realize he crossed the line, or someone did it to him while he was intoxicated or asleep, no one is allowed to kill him. Okay? But I want to go back, that opened up another can of worms. I don't want to get there. I want to go onto one idea, that he never leaves. The third answer is, that's Torah decree. Therefore, if a Torah decree, it applies across the border. So, Rabbi, I don't understand. This doesn't make sense either. The law is that life, to save a life, you push away every single command except the three cardinal: idolatry, adultery, and murder. This is not one of them. Since when you read that there is a fourth exception, there is no exception. Anytime you can save a life, you must violate every one of the commandments, including if Torah did not give us a reason. So Minchas Chinuch says, you're not living to save a life. because it's a Torah decree, there is no reason. It doesn't make sense. But it's a Torah decree, like many Torah decrees are making no sense. Says Rabbi, I understand. But the idea here is he's saving a life, which every other time to save a life, the mitzvah is being nullified, except the 3 cardinals. This is not one of them. And therefore, if he can save a life, the Torah decrees don't leave you down. However, if it's saving a life, you should leave your town. So these are the question remain. Rambam, I want to first summarize it because I want you to get an idea. To me, the important idea is the rule is that a man who committed the crime of murder, unintentional murder, must flee to a city of refuge. That's the only place he can survive. If he leaves the city of refuge, he opens up himself to being avenged by the avenger, a family member, or a stranger. The rule is that he's not allowed to leave his town for every circumstance. No matter, my son gets married, a burial of a parent, it doesn't matter. Don't leave the city of refuge. Even if he needs to give testimony in court that will save someone's life, he's not allowed. And everybody is asking, saving a life, you should be able to bend the law and save a life. So the first answer was, because to save a life, to give testimony, you put your life in danger. The rule is you don't put your life in danger when it comes to saving a life. By the way, the Rebbe is asking that this rule is debated. It's not clear that that's the law. But even if that's the law, says the Rebbe, they can create a protection for that person where his life is not in danger and let him go. Second answer is that if God allows him to be the tool to kill somebody, God will never allow this person to be a tool to save a life. Says the Rebbe, but if it did happen, how can you make a rule that he shouldn't go? And the third answer was Gzerat HaKatuv. It's a Torah decree that he shouldn't leave. Ask the Rebbe, but there is a rule. Every Torah law is bent to say in order for some life to be saved, spared. Here too, that should apply here, and he should be allowed to. I hope you understand the question. And again, the question is, why should he remain in the city of refuge in case he can save one life or the multitude of lives, like Yoav ben Tzuya? And the Mishnah in Makot, which Rambam quotes as halacha, says that even if Rabbim tzrichim lo, a lot of people, a multitude of people needs his help, he's not allowed to live, and people will get killed. How is it possible? Here is the answer. Harry?
So, the Rebbe does not agree with these things.
The Rebbe is asking questions. I didn't say don't agree.
If the avengers needs him to do something for him.
Okay, we'll ask this question another time. Or as my father would say, wait for Pesach. On the Pesach night, you ask questions. Yes.
Again.
Bli neder.
2 questions. So if a person accidentally murders somebody and he's in the city of refuge, and the high priest dies in a month.
It goes out. It's over.
But I understand it's over, but avengers are still,
Not allowed. If
They're
they
not-
do, they will be killed. Yeah, they'll be punished.
and when one person leaves on his own, it's not considered a suicide, right? If somebody kills him. Because he knows he's gonna be killed. Is it in that category or?
Yeah, God warns against that.
Yeah.
That he opens up himself into getting killed. So like someone jumping from the roof.
I want to hear the last one.
This
Can you read that?
just to
Can the avenger deny that he's gonna cancel being an avenger against the person?
no, first he has a mitzvah to do that. So it's a very good question you ask.
An avenger has a son who needs to have a very special heart surgery, and the world's greatest cardiology surgery is the one who's at the City of Refuge.
That's not gonna happen.
No.
Why do you say
No, I
that?
didn't say that. I just asked that.
What?
By the way, a cardiologist can cause the unintentional death. Pay attention, please. So it's a very common situation when they neglected or they unintentionally, did the wrong thing. Like used to be at a hospital here that amputated the wrong leg. Happened more than once. It happens. Don't underestimate doctors because they are dealing with life and death. I just want to address that. So therefore, your question is, there is a discussion in the Gemara, but I didn't want to get there. A father that got killed by a father who killed a son unintentionally, they worked on a project. and he was using a saw, and the saw fell and killed somebody. It happens. The brother of the deceased has a mitzvah to avenge against his own father. That's the Jewish law. And what if he did it while living in a city of refuge? You're going to ask me to soon, so I'm going to preemptively tell you he has to run to another city of refuge. He's not allowed to remain in the same city of refuge. And there are many other questions. There is a whole Talmud called Makos that deals with the avenging and city of refuge. Bob?
Reason you said it before. Somebody who was that important would not be sent, would not end up being in a city of refuge. If there was a need for that person, they would probably.
The Torah law says that no matter what the need is, he never leaves the city of refuge. Even
No occupational exemptions.
you know what? I have to repeat this point because to me that's most important. The rule is that to save his life, he must remain in the city of refuge. As soon as he leaves the city of refuge, he's opening himself up for losing his life. Therefore, the rule is he never leaves, including if the entire Jewish people needs his help, if the court needs his testimony so that he can save a life of one person or many, that does not apply. He's not allowed to live. And I was asking, like many commentators, simple question. Pikuach nefesh, saving a life, trumps every other mitzvah. Why it should not overcome this restriction and allow him? If you tell me that he's putting his life in danger and a man is not supposed to put his life in danger to save a life, A, it's disputed if that's the case. B, we can create a protection for him, a witness protection. If you're telling me that God will not allow this, it's not going to happen. This case will never happen because the guy ended up someone's life. God will not bring salvation for another person in our community through that man. But still, it's not good enough to forbid someone in case it happened. The third one is that's the Torah decree. Says Rabbi, even if it's a Torah decree, the rule is saving a life overrule every part of the Torah, including this one. And yet the rule is he's not allowed to live. Bob, did you understand? Here is the answer, the Rebbe's answer. The Rebbe finds it in the words of Rambam. Rambam adds, and I'm not going to go back and forth because we're not Talmudic students here. The Rambam adds the following words. Ve'im yatsa, if he does exit the city of refuge, hitir atzmo lemita. He allows himself to die. K'mo shebianu, as we explained. What do you mean if he left, he allows himself to die? It's not always the case. Maybe he goes out at night to a bar mitzvah or to a wedding that's in a secret place and nobody knows where it is. Rambam, and this is the words of the Rebbe, I'm giving it to you in a very, very concise way. Rambam says that as soon as someone takes someone else's life, he has no more life. When he enters the city of refuge, he gets life. Imagine someone is on life support. There is an oxygen tank that's connected. What happens if you clip that oxygen tank, the power supply, the pipe? The man stops breathing. Says the Torah that the man who ended up someone's life, the only way for him to be alive here, spiritually, is when he is in the city of refuge. What happens if he leaves the city of refuge? He's not a human being. He's inhuman. The fact that you see someone walking, you see animals walking too. It's not the same. A human being possesses a soul and life sustenance. That's why if someone kills him, he's not liable, says the Rebbe. You know why? Because as the Talmudic Aramaic, anyone speaks Hebrew may not. Gavra ktila ktilai. Gavra, human. Ktila, that's already dead. I killed a dead man. That's why not only the avenger, but anybody else is allowed to kill him. He's not liable. Like killing an animal. Killing an animal is a sin. But you don't put someone to death. You don't try him as a murderer. Says the Rebbe, therefore, it's impossible for that man to lose his life, not because of afraid of being avenged. By living the city of refuge, he loses his life, his sustenance. You can't ask someone to go out and kill himself so someone else will survive, even if the entire congregation. Did you understand that? Says the Rebbe. What?
I was just, even it's better.
Now, says the Rebbe, that's why the Torah and Rambam quotes, Sham tehei dirato, that's where he lives, Sham tehei mitato, that's where he dies, Sham tehei kvurato, that's where he should be buried. Who cares where he dies and where he's been buried? Let him die somewhere outside the city of refuge. If he dies outside, why does the rule is that he has to live in the city of refuge, and the Torah says that's where he's dwelling, that's where he's dying, that's when he's buried? Says the Rebbe, because life as a human being for us, breathing, for a man who ended up someone else's life, only existence, even after life, even when they're buried, is only connected to the city of refuge. So what if he dies outside the city of refuge? I'm going on a limb here. He left town and he got killed by the Avenger. You know what they do? They bring him to the city of refuge and they bury him there. Why? Life, existence, identity for that person is where? City of refuge. Now we understand it's not Gzerat HaKatuv, it's not the Torah decree that he shouldn't leave his city, because if that's a Torah decree, then the saving a life should push away that decree. He should be allowed to leave. Or if you put your life in danger, you should create a witness protection or some type of a way, an envelope that protects him and let him testify. But when you are told as soon as you leave the town, you are not a human being anymore, you do not exist, your existence is gone, then you cannot ask someone to do that, because you're asking a person to kill himself so someone else would live. And for that, there is no allowance. It does not even enter into the category of saving a life, because you are ending your own life. Did you understand that? Harry, do you understand? Says the Rebbe, for us, what is a city of refuge for every Jew? The Torah. The synagogue is the house of refuge, a city of refuge. When we study Torah, we are alive. Ki hem chayenu. This is our sustenance. Be'orech yameinu. And our longevity is as long as we are plugged into the Torah. Therefore, there is no allowance for violating and cutting off that pipe, that conduit that brings us energy. So if someone says to me, temporarily leave the city of refuge, go to a party, even if they don't eat kosher, connect with someone, even though it's inappropriate, but later on they will support the synagogue, they will become part of the community, says the Torah, even to save a life, the person should not leave the city of refuge. Because what happens when you say you leave the city of refuge? You're gone, you don't exist. And therefore, as we need to know that we always are connected. That's where our dwelling, that's where we die, that's where we're buried, without an exception. And that's the lesson this week from the City of Refuge. Yes. What? God says that he gets a second chance to life. It's like planting a new heart. He becomes a whole, fresh, new human. Sei gesund, have a good Shabbos, everybody.